Most of the time, you're going to use a form to generate some HTML. Well, so what we want to do is to display our form with no data filled in when someone requests our page for the first time. We'll need to make a view, a URL route, and a template for this, so we'd better get started.
So to show our form, we need to have a view. I'm going to collapse courses there. We don't need that anymore. And let's go look at views.py. So our current view that we have really isn't all that handy. It's not really all that much stuff. So we need to expand on this a little. First of all, let's bring our forms in. So we could do from .forms import suggestion form. Make sure I got that name right. Yep. Or what I tend to prefer to do, I'll show you both of these, is we can just do from .import forms like we did with our models in most places. We're just going to import the entire forms thing so that we have all of our forms available. In case we make other forms in the future, we don't have to keep going back and changing our import over and over and over again. All right, so let's make a new view. So we'll say suggestion view, and it'll take a request, like always. And then I need to instantiate an instance of our form. So I'm just going to call this form, and it'll equal forms.suggestionForm. And then we'll open and close our parentheses. And then we'll return a render like normal. And we'll send back the request. And then we'll say suggestionForm.html. And then we have to send a context dictionary to the view. And so we'll send form. So we just send our instantiated form out to the template. Nothing super fancy or complicated there. All right, so just to recap, we imported all of our forms, we made a new view, we instantiated right here a copy of our form, and then we just did our usual render response where we send the instantiated form out to the template. Okay, so we need to do a couple other things. We need to make a new URL. Oops, don't need to edit that. So let's come down here and make a new URL. We already have this from .import views. So let's add a new one here. Doesn't really matter where we put it. We'll just put it down here near the bottom. So we'll do suggest. Yeah, we'll do suggest. That makes sense. And then we'll do views.suggestion. What did I call that? Suggestion view. And then we'll name it suggestion. All right, so that URL is not really anything special compared to our other URLs. So that shouldn't be a big deal. All right, so our one last piece that we need to do, if you remember from all the other times that we've made views, is we need to make this suggestionForm.html a real thing. So we're going to do that in our templates folder. And we're going to do a new file, and we're going to say suggestionForm.html. And inside there, let's see what we have inside home. Yeah, we'll just copy all of that. We'll just paste it in here so there's nothing super complicated about that. And we'll say suggest an idea. And down here inside of our class row, we need to put in our form. So what we have to do, let's do this a couple of ways here. So we have form that comes in, and we can just do form as p. And we'll save that. Let's go over here, and we'll go to suggest. If all goes well, cool, we should see our form. Now, this is our form, and it's an average everyday form. If we inspect this with Chrome's developer tools, you'll see, though, that we just have these P's, the paragraph tags. There's no form tag anywhere in here. So we can't actually submit the form. Like, it wouldn't know where to go or whether to be a get or a post or whatever. And also, this is the end of our form right here. There's no submit button. There's no way to actually submit the form. I mean, I could press return or whatever, but that actually doesn't do anything. So we need to go add all of that stuff in. So we'll add in our form, and we'll say action equals nothing. We're just going to have it go back to the same view. So it'll submit back to itself. And method equals, we want to do post. Okay. And then we want to close our form, tag there, and we'll indent that. And so now that's good. We've got a more correct thing, but we also need to put in our input. So we'll just say type equals submit, and value for what shows up on the button, we'll just say, we won't even say anything. We'll just make it say submit. That's fine. So file, save. Let's go refresh this. And there is our submit button. Cool. We can make that look a little nicer with our styling here if we just say class equals button. So there we go. That looks a little nicer. Absolutely not part of doing Python or Django. Just looks a little nicer with our layout. Now we do have one other problem, and normally you wouldn't see this until we get to our next video and you try to do a thing that we're going to do. But since I know it's going to come up, I want to talk about it now while we're building the form. So right now, this is just our form fields that you see, right? So we have a name field, an email field, and a suggestion field, and a submit button. Django has a built-in thing called CSRF, or cross-site request forgery. You'll also hear it called CSRF. And what CSRF does is CSRF makes sure that the form submission comes from a form on the actual website. So there's occasionally an attack vector where somebody will give you a form on a website and it'll actually submit to a different website. And so they're like trying to capture your information. They want you to fill in your banking username and password. And instead of it actually submitting to your bank, it submits to their own database, and then they can go look up your account later on their own. Django helps you prevent that by using the CSRF token, and that makes sure that the cookie is set on your browser, and the value from the cookie comes back in the form. And we have one handy little thing here called CSRF token, this one template tag that we put in, and you won't see it on the form. But if we inspect the form, we can look right down here, and we have this hidden input with the name CSRF middleware token and this random value. We'd get a different value all the time. And so Django just checks to make sure that that's set and that it's one that matches the local site, and then we're good to go, and we're able to submit our forms.
Yes, sometimes it can be a little annoying having to remember to put that CSRF or CSRF token, but that provides a really solid piece of security. It can be disabled, but you usually only want to do that for very specific, special cases, so I highly recommend keeping it around. All right, hurry back for the next video where we'll actually handle the submission of our form.